Hari Om. Now the Bhagwan is narrating Arjuna a state called Brahmani Sthitaha. We call every time when we start the satsang, we pray to Gurudeva and describe him as somebody who is established in Brahman. We have heard this word Brahman so many times that we feel we are almost sure of what is Brahmani Sthiti. And the narration that is coming here is of the one who is established in Brahman. What is the characteristic that Lord is talking about? Na praharshit priyam. That which is pleasant. Priyam. That which is pleasant need not be that which is a must. That which is pleasant always entices us because it gives us pleasure. Priyam is something that gives us pleasure. And the unpleasant is something which does not give us pleasure. The unpleasant is called sorrowful, but the word used here is udvija. Udvija means vijanati, the one who understands correctly. That understanding evaporates, it goes up, it evaporates. That means our inability to distinguish between anatma, soul, bahya, atma bahya vastu, and atman. So atma anatma bhed, if we fail to understand, then the state that we land ourselves into is called udvija. The question that comes to mind is, what is pleasant is pleasant. Majestic Himalayas. What is the problem with this Brahmavit person? If he looks at the Himalayas, doesn't he feel good? Because the shloka is saying that Priyam prapya na praharshate, prarushyate. There is no harsha after seeing the majesty of Himalayas. How that can happen? Who in this world is there who cannot feel happy by seeing the Himalayas? And that is where Gurudev has specifically pointed out that it is not a wooden doll. The Jivan Mukta or the Brahmavit is not a man of perfection, is not a wooden doll or an iron statue. Now, what does that precisely mean? That means he is able to enjoy and see the pleasantness in the majesty of Himalayas or not. If yes, then the shloka says, na praharshat. There is no harsha for him, even with the priya things. And that is where we need to understand that the one who is established in Brahman does not and need not mean that his interaction with the help of vrittis of antakarnas have stopped. The looking hasn't stopped, the looking has changed. It is the complete change in the outlook of a Jivan Mukta That is what matters when he looks at the majesty of Himalayas. To take a parallel analogy, we all played when we were children with the marbles and we enjoyed it to the heart's content. It was such a wonderful time we spent playing with each other, fighting with each other, felt great about possessing the marbles in the pocket. Now what has happened, because we have subjected ourselves to higher pleasures, higher than the marble, we do enjoy children playing it. It is not that the marble game of the children makes us sorrowful. It does makes us feel happy, not bad, but simultaneously there is an awareness in the mind that this is inferior. This is not up to the mark compared to what I enjoy. This is in Sanskrit called as atishayata. One is atishaya than others. Ati ashaya. Running away from the school or in the recess, going and eating the imli or the tamarind and then and keep on licking our fingers was giving great enjoyment and happiness when we were children. Now it doesn't. For the children or the child, owning a Ferrari doesn't give a pleasure. Because for him, that is also car, this is also car. For me, it makes a difference because I say this is Lamborghini or Ferrari and this is a common car. The common car does not give me pleasure. So what happened is the definition of happiness, the definition of sukham, definition of priyam varies with the understanding that is imposed upon the intellect by the egocentric person, and proportionately he either feels happy or unhappy. Now, if marbles are inferior in happiness to Ferrari, then Ferrari must be inferior in happiness to something else. That must be again inferior to something more. So if we look at this as Satishaya Sukham, one superior to the others, Maithunananda or the sexual activity also gives much higher pleasure. So each pleasure is sublated by a higher pleasure. Now, if each is sublated by a higher pleasure, and if I keep on going forward, where will it end? It will end at a point of happiness where the happiness cannot be sublated. In other words, the happiness which lies at the pinnacle or the peak, which cannot be superseded by any other happiness, which is called Niratishaya Sukham, that is available as a privilege to the one who is Brahmavit. Now it becomes clear for us that the Brahmavit is not a stone or an iron statue, but his outlook, pashyati, the way they look at the world is different than the way we look at the world. In the world, we have to derive the pleasure from the things around us in this world. For him, the entire world is of no consequence because he has received a continuous flow of happiness far superior than the contents of this world. And it is not only superior in comparison, but it is unsurpassable. Thus far, no further. Which is Brahmasthiti. And that is why na prahrushate priyam, na udvijjate aprapya apriyam, aprapyam apriyam. Now the question is understood. The Brahmavit does not have either inclinations, not having something which is priyam, doesn't lead to unhappiness. Having something which is priyam doesn't lead to a kind of a happiness. The reason being availability of constant source of unsurpassable happiness. This is agreed. But how is this person, what is the status of this person? Status of a person means mental status of a person. Ultimately, body has literally no significance and indriyas have no significance whatsoever. What is most significant part of the body is antakarana or the chitta. So how is the chitta or antakarana of such a person who is Brahmavet? Antakarana is a sthira buddhi. The modification of antakarana which leads to determining faculty or nischayatmaka vritti is called buddhi. And how is the buddhi of such a person? Sthira buddhi. What it means? It doesn't vacillate. There is no chanchalata in the buddhi. It is fixed. It is ossified. But fixed on what? Sthira, agreed, but sthira on what? Sthira on Brahman. This is also understood. If the buddhi is sthira on Brahman, then why there is an addition as asammudho? Is asammudha different than sthira buddhi? Otherwise, how two are mentioned here? Sthira buddhi himself, if he is asammudho, then why dvirukti? It would become a dvirukti, repetition of one word twice. And Gita Mata is a divine scriptures, not even a comma goes wrong there. So there must be a significance to both the words, sthira buddhi and asammudho. And to understand this, we need to go back to the basics. The basics are our prime source of knowledge, ultimate knowledge, are Vedas. From Veda, everything has sprung. The Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita, Smriti Grantha, the origin, source of entire Hindu philosophy. At the root of everything lies Veda. Now, if Veda is the one which is going to liberate me, and if I study them, which I don't at the present, but supposing I study, I will have some confusion in the mind, because I will start from mantra, then Brahmana, then Aranyaka, then I will go to Upanishad. While reading it, if we read any of the Vedas, Veda, Rigveda, Yajurveda, Atharvaveda, or Samaveda, there comes a doubt in the mind because it is full of elaborate rituals. There is a special darshana which is based on these rituals of or the karma kanda, which is called Purva Mimamsa. Jaimini Rishi devoted his life for this Purva Mimamsa, subsequently then mastered by Prabhakara and Kumarila Bhatta or Shabar Pandita. So Shabar Bhashyam is also there. All that has been done to explain that, oh look, Vedas are nothing else but karma kandas. While the Upanishads say it is a Jnana Kanda. So then comes the question, this Mahavakya Tattvam Asi, which is taken from the Upanishada, is it talking about Jiva Brahma Aikya or not? Is Jiva and Brahman, are they the same? Tattvam Asi. So is it the same or not same? That Samshaya comes to the mind for that person who reads the Vedas. Such a Samshaya is called Asambhavana. This is in Shastra Paribhasha is called Asambhavana. In short, what is Asambhavana? Whether the Mahavakyas of the Vedas are Jiva Brahmaikya Pratipadakam or Samshayam. This particular Asambhavana is of two types, Pramana Asambhavana and Prameya or Siddhanta Asambhavana. Praman asambhavana means Veda Vakyas are Jiva Brahmaika Pratipadaka or Karma Upasana Pratipadaka. The aim of Veda is to only do karma and upasana, or the aim of Veda is to talk about Jiva Brahma Aikya. This doubt is called a Praman Asambhavana, and this Praman Asambhavana gets retired after doing Shravanam. The Shravana that we call, which again is further divided into Angi Shravana, Anga Shravana, Apatata Shravana, that is a different part. But listening, Shravanam, is to clear the doubts about the Vedas. The very specific, precise intention of Shravanam is to remove Praman Asambhavana. Then what is Prameya Asambhavana? Whether the abhedam is satya or bhedam is satya. Now karma upasana or jiva brahma aikya, that is Shravanam has sorted it out. And you come to the conclusion, no, it is for jiva brahma aikya pratipadana. That is the mukhya vishaya of Vedas. Now comes the question, jiva brahma aikya is satya or bheda is satya? Because Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, everybody talk about the bheda, while the Shankaracharyas and other acharyas talk about abheda, which is advaita. When that doubt lurks in the mind, we need to sort it out by studying the Vedas, and that is done by doing only mananam. The specific purpose of mananam is to weed out the doubt in the mind of a sadhaka about jiva, brahma, abhedata or bhedata. Now, the one who has done this asambhavana, one whose asambhavana has retired is called sthira buddhi. That means the one who has done shravanam and mananam to the perfect, to the T, thereby removing the praman asambhavana, the person is called sthira buddhi. But only sthira buddhi will not lead to brahmani sthiti, because there will be still a delusion, mudhata left in him. And what is that mudhata? That is called viparita bhavana. Viparita bhavana means because of deep-rooted sanskaras of many years, dehadika satyatva nishchaya. I am the body. I am the Brahman, even after Shravanam Mananam, still that thing keeps on lurking in the mind that no, you are not Brahman, you are the Shariram. Dehadika Satyatva Nishchaya versus Jiva Brahma Aikya Nishchaya. That is sorted out by doing what is called Anusandhana. So Viparita Bhavana is removed by Anusandhanam, and the one whose Viparita Bhavana is removed is called Asamudha. Such a person whose Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam is complete. In other words, one whose Asambhavana and Viparita Bhavana is removed, such a person is called Sthira Buddhi and Asamudha. Both went together, then the person reaches a state which is Brahmavid. The one who knows the Brahmavid is to know, he knows the Brahman. And one who knows the Brahman stations itself in Brahman, Brahmani Sthitaha. Thus, one who is established in Brahman because of knowing Brahma, because he has become asammudha, because he is a sthira buddhi, then for him priyam and apriyam will not affect. Kathopanishad takes the same subject. Anyat shreyo anyat ut eva preyaha te ubhe nanarthe purusham sinitaha. The good, the pleasant, and the desirable, both are present in front of a man to bind him. This is bandha. And such a person who is Brahmani Sthita is beyond the bandha. That is why Gurudev says the person of this kind is not a statue or an idol. There are so many millions of minute happinesses in this world. He doesn't miss them. And to get a live example, Tapovan Maharaj used to take our own Gurudeva for a walk in the Himalayas when they were traveling from the Uttarkashi down. And at that point of time, many times Tapovan Maharaj used to stand at one place and tell to Gurudeva, Chinmaya, look at the majesty of these Himalayas and the dark starry nights. Does that mean that he was enjoying the scene? Priyam, he was. But the fact is, although he was enjoying it, he simultaneously, because of his Brahman Sthiti, knew about the relative importance of the happiness at two different places. That is why Gurudeva has deliberately, out of his own experience, occultly hinted in the commentary of 21st shloka that at least in the time when he is in meditation, he has highest bliss. At least when he is in meditation, meaning thereby when he is not in meditative posture, at that time he may interact and enjoy even the lower happinesses. Is it not that we become part of the children's game and enjoy the game with the children? We play cricket with that small bat with the child and we enjoy it, knowing fully well that this is not my game. It is not a bar that you cannot enjoy, which you have stopped enjoying anymore. There's no reason. The Lord has created everything so beautifully. Yes, the Lordship itself is the best, most beautifying thing. But again, these are all nothing else but his avishkaras. So avishkaras are also enjoyed, but with a perfect understanding that this happiness is not niratishaya, it is satishaya. And that is the reason why the 21st shloka starts with the same thing. Bahya sparsheshu asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukham. Yat sukham means that pleasure. Bahya sparsheshu asaktatma. This is a very, very funny procedure. Funny for the people who are materialistic in nature. They always put a blame on Vedantists that, these guys are not interested in the world. They just want to leave everything. There's no wife, there's no relation, there's nothing, anything. They say this man is so averse to happiness. Anything you bring him, he says, oh, it is all momentary. Oh, it is not a longer thing. What am I to do with the wife? What am I to do with the child? It is not so. The reason is we do not have healthy relationship with the things around us or the objects around us. Our relationship is a perverted relationship that we have with the objects around us, including our kith and kin, simply because entirety of our relationship is based on ego center. Moment you pip through B and M and I, the relationship becomes infructuous. It becomes fraudulent. And then Indriyas are anyway standing to make that relationship stronger. Paranjikani Vitrunat Swayambhu, as rightly told by Suresh. So there is a need to change the relationship. And to change that relationship, a boy who is not studying and he's always making nuisance outside, first thing, what would you do? You stop the boy from nuisance first, and then make him study. Similarly, you first get out of this fraudulent relationship developed through the egocentric backdrop so that you come out and then redevelop the right kind of relationship. Then you know the mulya and maryada of each and everything around you. Then moment you see Ferrari, you don't feel, when can I have it? You say, all right, this is another car, not bad. It runs very well. Why not enjoy the speed? Very good, not a problem. But no attachment of any kind. Why? You know it is inferior. Or rather, you know the place and placement of that particular object. So it is a redefined subject-object relationship that you have, because now objects are no more powerful to bind you, means your mind or antakarana. So bahya sparsheshu asakta atma. Nothing from outside world, which is mainly represented by the gates, which are indriyas, nothing that is perceived, cognized by the indriyas disturbs the antakaran of a person who is vindati yat atmani sukham. This line itself is nothing else but reinterpretation of yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. This is the same thing, given in a different shape, different presentation. First line of this shloka is about the process. What is the process? Bahya sparsheshu asaktaha. This is the process. And then what is the culmination? What is the result? The result is saha brahma yoga yuktatma. Such a person is brahma yoga yukta atma. What is brahma yoga yukta atma? Brahma yoga yukta atma meaning, if he has detached from everything, where is he attached? He is attached to the higher, as Gurudev says, meaning to the Brahman. And here the attachment is not of a type that there is one thing and there is another thing. There is only one thing. Brahmavit Brahmeva Bhavati. It is a 180-degree transformation of the antakarana or the chitta of the sadhaka, which the world of whom gets completely changed because of not changing each and every item in the universe, but by changing himself from the egocentric standpoint to Brahmavit. Moment he becomes Brahmavit, all relationships are reset. It is a resetting of the mechanism. So such a Brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam. Now, vindati atmani yat sukham. And this sukham, as Balaji Maharaj pointed out, there is a difference in this. What is the difference? When you get into the process of samadhi, what is samadhi? Sanyamat samadhi. What is sanyama? Dharana, dhyana, and samadhi together are called sanyama, which is the height of concentration. That state in which there are no two is samadhi. Now, if this, when moment the ekagrata reaches the ultimate pinnacle, at that point of time, because there is no bhed left, you realize the, which is basically called as jnatrutva of Atman. You acquire is actually a very poor word because there is no other word to describe. So ashnute, acquired, is used because you, as if you acquire that state. Factually speaking, that state is always open to us, but we acquire that state, and in that state, simultaneously Atmajnanam and Sukham both are ekasamayavachede, simultaneity of both. So the one who has realized Atman also touches the bliss and becomes blissful. Now, if he comes back from the samadhi, then what happens? The Sukham again gets lost to the degree that was experienced earlier. So the difference between Sahasavastha and Dhyanavastha is, in Dhyanavastha you touch the nectar, take a sip of it, but a continuous flow of the nectar is yet yielding, which in the second stanza, Brahma Yoga Yukta, once you happen, the Sahasavastha comes, then Sukham Akshayam Ashnute. Now the Sukham is Akshayam. Now it will never be disturbed. Now even if he comes down, there is no down and up. He is constantly in the Lord's chamber. He is in Narayana's abode, freely coming out and seeing the creation of Narayana itself. Such a person who has reached the Brahmananda or Brahmastiti or Narayana's abode, when he comes back into this world, he is called Bhakta. And that is why Narayana is always disturbed when the Bhakta is somewhere, because he has to look after the Bhakta. That's why in Bhakti Sutra it is said that I reside in the heart of Bhakta. So the Sukham that comes as a Sahasavastha after establishing a permanent union with Brahman, Brahma, Yoga, Yukta, Atma. He is privy to Akshaya Sukham. And then Akshaya Sukham, once he gets, does he become a complete, as Gurudev called it, monotonous equanimity? That you tell him, Ki Maharaj, I got a baby boy. And Maharaj says, all right. Maharaj, my father died. All right. Maharaj, I have brought some prasadam for you. All right. Maharaj, I want to hit you with the stone. All right. Is that the sthiti that the Maharaj has? No. In the Vyavahara, in the transactional world, a Jivan Mukta or the Brahmavit, when he interacts with this particular world, he interacts in the same manner as us. Vivekananda used to be very angry many a times. Then we say, oh my God, he's such a Jivan Mukta, and how can he be angry? It is feigned anger. Meaning, the vrittis are produced at the will of the yogi to interact with the world, and that is called Badhit Anuvritti. What is Badhit Anuvritti? The vrittis are created. Chitta Vritti Nirodha is already done by them. But now they have to again create the vritti, otherwise the interaction will be impossible in this world. Gurudeva said in his last days, he was advised not to eat papadam, but he said, get the papadam, I like it very much. Immediately we may say, oh my God, such a Jivan Mukta is still involved in papadam. No, sir. As a part of Badhita Anuvritti, they are free to play. Who stops you from playing with children? Nobody stops you from playing with children. In fact, the children will be more happy. But while playing with the children, you never forget that you are an adult. Similarly, such a Brahma Yoga Yuktatma never forgets that in this transactional world, Vyavharika Vishwa, I am playing a role. So most of the Jnanis, most of the Brahmavit, they are actually in this world as if they're acting in a drama. So we used to tell that Gurudev is born as Balakrishna Menon, Gurudev was to be laughing inside. Oh, these guys are still calling me by my name because I am nameless. Gurudev went to Himalayas, and he's such a great man he was, and Gurudev must be laughing at it because he's, I don't recognize anybody. Who is Balakrishna Menon? I don't recognize him. Why? Because he has reached a place where the knowledge of the yesteryears is still fresh, but it is completely Badhajnana. It doesn't create any flutter in him. That is why to such a person, when we say Gurudev, somebody came and told Gurudev, Gurudev, your pravachan today was excellent. And what did Gurudev say? He said, yeah, I also liked it. I means me, who was listening to me, he liked it. The answer has the kernel of truth which is explained in this 21st shloka. So, Bahya Sparsheshu Asaktatma, which is called Paravairagyam. Paravairagyam, there is absolutely Brahma, Stambhadi Brahma Paryante, Yanitye Bhogavastuni. That is how Vairagya has been defined in Vivek Chudamani. From the blade of the grass to Brahma Pada. Everything. Kathopanishad Nachiketa says, Tavaiva Nritya, Tavaiva Vaha, Nritya Gite. Take hey Yamaraj, take all the things that you offered me, take it to you. I don't want them. Why? All of them are not permanent. I need a permanent abode. Which is explained in these two shlokas, where the one who is rejoicing himself by being established in Brahman, an avastha which we are not aware of. Why? Because we are in the egocentric. We are in London while they are in Sydney. The Brahmasthiti is far beyond our even intellectual grasp, simply because we are more engrossed in the egoistic activity. Concrete the ego, harder to understand the Brahmasthiti, Durlabham. That is why Bhagavan Yogeshwar himself is explaining to Partha, because even Arjuna is not understanding, so he is explaining, so that through Gurudeva's madhyam, we will at least get the glimpse of what is a Jivan Mukta or Brahmasthita. Hari Om.